say, hey, I would like to make a free video for you. This is a 1-minute video I've made before. Let me know what you think. He responds immediately.
Interesting.
And he says, sure, let's do it.
2014, when you called DM Gary and decided to give value out for free, and that was the story how you got it running and got the job.
Back in the day, 2014, me and my buddy were running a podcast actually, and a blog called the Launching Creative Podcast.
Love that.
Shout out to Nick Part, my buddy and co-founder in that. And we were interviewing entrepreneurs, businessmen, a bunch of different like marketers and all these different types of people. And we were teaching people how to make money as a freelance creative.
Interesting.
Like I was a freelance videographer, he was a freelance graphic designer. So like, how do you invoice? And, 2014, we didn't have TikTok and Instagram with thousands of like articles or like videos or pictures of how to do this. So we started this podcast. We were probably 30, 40 interviews deep. And my buddy's like, hey, there's this guy at Columbia University talking tonight. It's a free event. We should check it out. All the entrepreneurs and business people that we had been interviewing all wore suits and like were very formal.
Yeah.
This guy walks out in Nike Air Forces, jeans and a hoodie, and a hat on. He's like, I just loved his message, and it was Gary. So that night went back and watched as many YouTube videos as I possibly could. He had a bunch of like keynotes or like kind of like consumed a bunch of his content. And emailed him and said, I heard the thing about jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah.
Give, and then ask. And I was always, doing a lot of free work at the time, offering, hey, I'll be on set if you'll, like, I did a job for $20 and a meal.
How old were you
at this point? 23. Yeah, okay. 23.
And were you like straight out of school or something?
I had moved, I graduated college at like 20. I had an associate's degree. Out of Northampton Community College in Bethlehem. I got into a car accident, totaled my car. My parents were like, hey, you got to get out of the house. And so I decided to move to my sister's house in Staten Island, lived in her basement, and was just freelancing and like grinding it out.
From the sister's basement?
From the sister's basement, yeah.
Take me back to like that mindset of like being a freelancer, because like being a freelancer obviously has its own grind. And obviously, as you said, like back in that day, there was none of these resources for people to showcase their work.
Not at all, by the way.
I know. So like, how did you figure out A, like making a living, and B, also staying creative?
I mean, listen, I starved myself, so probably that's not good advice. But I knew how to like make pasta for $1 or eat. Like I was eating like junk food at the lowest cost.
Yep.
Paying like zero to little rent. The biggest thing for me was I was on Craigslist every single day, writing posts, making posts, like, hey, if you need a videographer for your Kickstarter video, or hey, you need a videographer for your wedding, or hey, I create corporate videos. I made so many ads. You're allowed like a maximum of 5 to 6 live in a day. I would have like 5 or 6, and then I found a hack where you add another 5 posts because you can just renew them. So you have 5 live and 5 renewed, and I would every day make 5 new posts and renew 5 old ones, and just keep marketing myself.
Recycling that
100%. Yeah.
And so at this point, there was the breakthrough in 2014. You deciding to, hey,
I mean, I had quite a few breakthroughs before.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was a freelancer, started to work on a bunch of TV shows, TV sets, independent films. Really didn't enjoy the process and production.
Okay.
So that's why I went back to freelancing.
Okay.
Because I like to be in control of the productions I was working on.
You said you didn't like the process of production being like the mainstream.
Yeah, honestly,
production.
It was like real TV and real independent film. The crew, to me, just didn't seem happy.
Gotcha.
Everyone felt disgruntled. They were like, hey, you got to grind from like being a PA and like get coffee and hold wires. And I did that, and I was okay with that. But like, I wanted to create stuff. I didn't want to like stand on set and work the politics. So that's why I decided to go back to freelancing, to pick up my camera and like really create stuff. So then back to 2014, I had then realized I knew how to price myself appropriately.
Yep.
I was getting more gigs and more clients, and I was steady.
Yep.
I thought if I made a video for Gary, I could use that as leverage to get more work.
Wonderful.
And that's kind of like where it began.
But you So what was your process in like cold DMing Gary? Just take me through that.
Yeah, so again, that night, after the talk, was home watching YouTube videos probably until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Again, he didn't really have a lot. It was like keynotes, little cell phone videos.
That was the wine library days, right?
And then he had the wine library, because I didn't even know about that until I got hired.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Wine Library TV. I am Gary Vaynerchuk, Director of Operations here at Wine Library at winelibrary.com, and I am very proud to launch what we think is the first video wine blog.
Emailed him and said, hey, really love what you're doing here. I'm a videographer in the city. I would love to make a free video for you.
Okay.
Let me know. No response.
Okay.
And I'm like, fuck. And then so, a month later, I think I sent another email and no response. And then, one day I'm working on a freelance gig. I had made the most money I'd ever made on a freelance gig, probably like $800, a real like rate. I was like, okay, cool. I'm a cameraman now. I'm making $800 a day. I'm happy. I'm pumped. And then it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
And up until this point, remember I ate pasta and knew how to cook a little bit, so I could get away with like being cheap. Yeah. But up until this point, I was like lugging all my camera gear, my tripods, lighting, like all this stuff on my back. Like I was living in Queens at the time, was doing the job in Midtown. I looked like the hunchback of Notre Dame walking through the subways. It's pouring rain. I was like, I hate my life. I do the work, finish it, it's still pouring rain. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to take a cab. Back in the day, 2014 days, Wi-Fi service was very sketchy on the trains. Yeah. I would have never. So I'm sitting in the car, driving over the Queensboro Bridge. I'm on Twitter for 2 seconds. Gary tweets, hey, I'm trying this app called Kick out.
Okay.
Now it's used for sexting by teenagers, but back in the day, it was a brand new app. Almost like as if Gary were talking about TikTok in 2018. Like, hey, I'm trying out this app. Come follow me. I download the app right away, make a username, reach out to him within 2 minutes, say, hey, I would like to make a free video for you. This is a 1-minute video I've made before. Let me know what you think. He responds immediately.
Interesting.
And he says, sure, let's do it. And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know, let me follow you around for a day. Let me like try to capture your life and we'll try to make a video out of it. So I show up, he's like, sure. He's doing a meeting down the street. He's wrapping it up. They're doing like walk and talk. I meet with Gary's writer at the time, Steve Unwin, and me and him are walking, and he's like, okay, we got to go catch up to Gary. We got to hop in a cab with him. So like me and this guy Steve are like walking behind Gary 2 blocks. We finally get to where he is. He's sitting in the cab. I sit up front, and I'm starting to hit the button record. I'm sorry, he's on the phone with his mom. And he's like, hey, mom, So I put the camera down. I'm like, I don't want to like. I don't want that, yeah. And then he says, hey, mom, I love you. And then he hangs up the phone. And then I pick up the camera. And I'm like, Gary, can you say that again?
Yeah.
And he's like, he dead looks me in the face. First word he's ever said to me, never ask me to repeat anything ever again. Oof. If you learn that, we'll be in great shape. And so then I was like, okay, never mind. And then so continue to film throughout the day. Get back to my editing bay because he didn't want to wear a mic.
Oh yeah, because you need to pick up the mic on the wrong shots.
There's no audio.
Yeah,
and I'm like, fuck. Yeah, what am I gonna make out of this?
Yeah,
and like so for like 2 nights, I'm like throwing my face at the like screen, like what am I doing? And then how Gary writes articles is through audio.
Interesting.
He doesn't write. He says it. And then
someone
Steve Unwin, who is with me, will write and transcribe the articles. And so he was writing an article called Clouds and Dirt.
Interesting.
And so I use that narrative, and it's all about like, he believes in the grind, the dirt, the dirty work. Hey, if you have these big dreams, the clouds, you got to put your feet in the dirt and work.
Something I've been thinking about a lot. It's this notion of the clouds and the dirt. It's kind of like another version of my steak and the sizzle. Meaning, I don't spend any time on the things that don't matter, and what doesn't matter is basically everything in between the overall vision and strategy and the real knowledge of it.
Never caught in fabrics that's average. What would ever happen if I got married?
It actually ended up being the perfect first video for me to have. because it was about my grind, and it was just like, it was really good. And so I put this video together, short little 3-minute film, send it off to him. He loves it. He's tweeting everybody individually, because at that day, like social media, the only social he had was Twitter, and he had 1 million followers because of how big he was in tech.
Correct.
But everybody else really didn't know him. So he was like literally DMing people one by one, hey, or messaging them one by one, hey, I love this video, would love if you checked it out. I copied and pasted every single tweet, found their email, and emailed every single one, said, hey, I made that video, would love to make one for you if you want one, da-da-da-da. A month goes by. I send an email, I'm like, hey, just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. I've gotten a few gigs off the video, and I really appreciate it. And then I send that to him.
To Gary.
Then I'm in the middle of a 72-hour film festival.
Wow.
Where you get the idea, you gotta write, film, edit, and everything in 72 hours. Now that's probably a piece of cake for me because of how many more videos I've done, but then it was very challenging. I'm in hour like 56, no sleep. I am like grinding on the edit late at night. And email at that time wasn't that busy. I hear ding, 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 ding. It's Gary emailing me and he's saying, hey, so ... what do you want to do? You want to come work for me? And then in that moment, I'm like, yes. And I decided, I never wanted to work for him. I never wanted a job. I didn't really want anything from him other than what I got, which was him tweeting it out. I got a few gigs off it, build up my portfolio, grind.
But why did you say yes in that very moment?
Yeah, I had a weird thing. The girlfriend at the time I was dating, she was an interior designer. Her aunt was very big into like business and marketing and was like, you need to go back to college. I went to Hunter College for interviews. I was about to like go maybe re-sign to be in business school. And then I remembered like spending the day with Gary and what Gary talks about. And I was like, why don't I get paid to learn real business? And so ultimately ended up saying yes. Started the job in a month or two after that. And then we began a bunch of stuff, a lot of work together.
Love that. You mentioned all this thing about like just eating ramen and like staying in your sister's basement.
Grinding.
There's a theme of you keeping your burn low. Like the burn rate was low back in the day, even though you were making money.
100%.
How important that is to realize that you keeping your burn low in the present allows you to have runway in the future, you think, for freelancers as well?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I came from nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, respect to my mom and dad, they gave me a great life. A life that I'm always grateful for.
Shout out parents always, yeah.
Shout out my parents and my older sister and her, like all my family, all of them, all the sisters, all the nephews, all the nieces, everybody.
Yeah.
I love them all. Love you guys. But no, I lived within my means. I did not go out. I did not go out to drink. I did not go out to the movies. I did not go to a club. I did not go out and hang out with my friends. And if I did, we were sitting and like hanging out, not doing things that cost money. And so I truly believe in that. Living within your means is probably the best way to get your feet on the ground.
Got it. Yeah. And that's like the main focus. Like even like I'm an immigrant and like I moved in this country with like $200.
Yeah.
But like long story short, like I had to like consciously teach myself, because like it's sometimes tempting, right? You live in the cities, DC, New York, Chicago, LA, because you want to be in the circle where like the media people are hanging out. But like sometimes you realize that there is like a cost to do that, and you want to save money for whatever it is to like buy new cameras, buy computers, buy whatever, or just like save money so that you can take risks in the future. And you just have to be like cognizant of it and like think long term, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. I have a really funny story of like, I'm pretty okay with finances because, well, I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
But my mom taught me this very basic system of like saving money.
What is
She
it?
would give me 3 folders.
Okay.
Half of my money that I brought in, she would allow us to put whatever money we wanted in these folders. There was a savings folder, a spendings folder, and then a saving or something that you want to buy folder.
Interesting. Okay.
And so like I always wanted a computer when I was a kid, so I was saving all my money to buy a computer. And so whenever I would get either like birthday money, whether it be $20 or $100, I was allowed to divvy it up into these folders.
Wow. So like from the get-go, you had like categories and like ways
Yeah,
of
from the
thinking.
get-go. And I really believe that one of the biggest problems in America currently is financial illiteracy.
Correct.
People do not know how to save money.
Yep.
People do not know how to live within their means. I mean, listen, I'm wearing actually somewhat decent clothes nowadays.
Oh, great, yeah.
Because I put myself in a spot where I've saved and invested.
Yeah.
But like, I would like literally wear stuff from old, like, I don't know,
Hand-me-downs. Thrift shop.
Yes, thrift shop. I would literally buy clothes in thrift shops all the time, and like that's how I lived my life. And like didn't really care about fashion, didn't really care about buying things. Literally until probably the last 3 or 4 years have I really started. And I'm 31 now, so I spent a lot of my younger like 20s in like just living within my means.
Grinding, like you said. In terms of like you starting to work on projects, there was Daily Vee, obviously, which was like the vlog you did with him. And that was like the Casey Neistat vlog era. And like those two things I still remember from like YouTube back in the day. I think I was in like high school or like just in college. What did you think while making Daily Vee was the value prop of that product? Was it like telling this is Gary's life, the storytelling aspect of it, or was it to give business insights and all that stuff?
Well, up before Daily Vee happened, I had gotten a job, and then I had started to work on a bunch of like random edits of these keynotes.
Interesting.
And putting up these videos on YouTube for Gary. It's kind of like boring, not really what I thought I would be doing. And then about probably 2 months in, Gary's like, hey, come here, grab your camera, we're gonna start a show. And I'm like, okay, what is it? We sit down at a table and he's like, I'm going to answer questions off of Twitter.
Ask Gary Vee show.
And this is when the Ask Gary Vee show starts.
You keep asking questions, I'll keep answering them.
Ask Gary Vee, we start filming one episode. We really love it. I'm like cutting up every answer, DMing it to every person that like Gary answered to just start building up awareness for this show. We do 2 episodes a week, then we get to 3, and then we just vary. And like, we probably put out over 150 episodes. And, you know, while I'm still grinding on that, it's a lot of work for me. I'm like, that's what I'm working on mostly, that, and still like working on the keynote stuff and other videos we needed to make for YouTube. And then, you know, Casey and I, that happens. He starts to vlog every single day. Gary's asking me to find people on YouTube. I find Casey. I'm like, Gary, he's vlogging his life, we should do this. And he's like, no way.
He said that.
Yeah, he's like, no way. I'm not vlogging myself. I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a content creator like that. I'm like, okay, cool. Then he was like, yo, and then he just kept asking me like, hey, what else can we do? What else can we do? I'm like, I'll follow you around. And he's like, no. And then like, I had, back in the day when we were working on Ask Gary Vee, was getting bored late night and would work late night on like a film that I wanted to make for Gary, almost like the stuff that got me hired.
Gotcha.
And so I was using Ask Gary Vee voiceover and keynote voiceover to help tell the story, interview him, just get a little bit more. And I was like, Gary, I need to follow you around a little bit and capture B-roll. So then he's like, yeah, of course, come follow me around, get some cool shots. And so I do. And at the end of the 2 days, I'm like, yo, your life is actually fascinating. And then I started to be like, yo, Gary, we have to vlog. This is what we have to do. He's like, no, man, like, I don't see it. Like, I can't do that. Can't have a man following me around. I'm not going to hold the camera up. And then he had asked me a ton of times. I was living in Queens at the time, and he was in the Upper East Side. He wanted to run basketball runs with his boys down at the 14th Street. Why? How do you feel about that?
What do you think?
At like 6 o'clock in the morning. So we would, like, and he would ask me to film it. So I would wake up at like 4 in Queens, get down to here by like 5:30 so we can be at the YMCA, film for 3 hours of them playing basketball, and then head to work all day. And so I was like, this is boring. Then one day I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna just film him all day. So then I start at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I show up at his next meeting. If you watch Daily Vee 1, you'll see Gary standing across the street and looking up at me like, why are you here? And then he like realizes, oh, we're filming. And then I just filmed him for the first day entirely. And he ends up like not being able to do a keynote because he didn't have the correct proper like coat and like clothes, and he had sneakers on. They wanted him to wear shoes.
Ugh.
So like, we were like finding all these materials and clothing around for him. It just ended up being this like awesome day, and like for content, right?
Yeah.
Like so then he watched the episode. He allowed me to work on it all week, and then I give it to him, and he's like, "Yo, we need to do this all the time." I'm like, "I agree." So then like I start the next one, and I would start filming, and then I would edit, film, and then edit. Eventually I started traveling with him. Gary had texted me on a Sunday night and said, "Hey, I need you to show up tomorrow morning early at my apartment. You know, like, I need you. I have a rant. I need to tell people what's up." He's like, "Yo, people hate their jobs. People don't want to go to work. People are like disgruntled that the weekend's over, and like I want people to be excited about work."
Yep.
So I'm like, "Okay, Gary, what is this?" Sure. Like him and I were going back and forth. We were very excited about it actually. Then so I show up in his apartment the next morning. I film this video, the classic "Fuck You Monday" video.
So it's early Monday morning, and I've been wanting to make a Monday morning video for a long time, and finally D-Rock, we're doing it. So real quick, this is just a rant.
We had put that video up within an hour of me filming it. That Gary's Facebook page at the time, this is when Facebook video was a thing.
Yeah.
Before Instagram, before TikTok, all that stuff. Facebook, he had built Facebook up to 500,000 fans. It took him 10 years. I put this one video up on Monday morning. By Saturday that week, we had doubled the Facebook page to 1 million. And we're like, wow, this is insane. This is viral. So then, you know, I heard that rant. We kept trying to find stuff that happened. Fast forward back to when I'm filming Daily Vee with Charlamagne the God and Andrew Schultz on the Brilliant Idiots podcast. And I hear a moment. And I'm like, yo, that was just as good as the Monday morning rant. And I'm like, yo, Andy, he's like working with me. He's now president of Vee Friends. Really proud of him. I'm like, Andy, we got to put this up. We put it up. Same thing happens.
Bonkers
Crazy. Then Andy, Gary, and I all look at ourselves. We're like, wait a minute. Daily Vee is not about the vlog, which is the documentation of an entrepreneur's life. Daily Vee is about the micro moments.
Gotcha.
Gary is living his life as an entrepreneur. We're capturing all the time for the 1.5 minute video that could crash the internet.
So those micro moments had the value prop.
So that's when we started going ham on like, yo, we got to start cranking out micro moments all the time. We started going back to Ask Gary Vee, cutting up the most like viral moments there, and then that's when our machine really starts to pick
How did
up.
Gary responded to that like aha moment of virality? Because like he didn't foresee it clearly because he didn't want to do it.
Right. It just became the dawn of like, yo, like we needed like if we're already filming everything all day, now let's film with the intent that we might be picking up a 1.5 minute clip. So I had to change my filming style from being all very cinematic to being a little bit more of like, I need to be listening to every word that Gary's saying.
So like a production like that, where like you have to follow someone and it's outdoors, you have to like mic people up. And in terms of like just production baseball talk, there are like a lot of variables that you cannot control. Right? 100%. When you're doing production, like this is a controlled environment because there's a mic, there's a light, there are two people
and it's
sitting.
Beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Shout out to the studio.
Alex Media. And
that's right. What's up, guys?
So this is a controlled environment, but like a production like that, so the variables are not controlled. You don't know what's going to happen, who's going to say that, who's going to bump into your shoulder and mess up your frame and all that. So what was your mindset going into a production like that?
I'm ghetto. Yeah. So to me, I really went like with the most basic thing I can get because again, filming Gary is not like, oh, I'm going to go meet my entrepreneur businessman at 9 and be done at 5. I picked him up at 7:30 in the morning outside of his apartment in the Upper East Side, and I would drop him off at 11:30 p.m. And this was 18-hour days. And so for me, I needed a light camera that I can hold all day, 100 batteries I can keep swapping in and out, and a lot of memory cards. I lobbed them up with a Sennheiser AVS and said, see ya. Like for me, it didn't really, because again, we needed to just get content out. This is like, I filmed all day, within 2 days I would have an edit. I filmed all day, the next day I would have an edit, like as we got faster. So like, I just had to film as quickly and scrappy as possible. Not have the video file be too heavy. Couldn't film in 4K for the longest time because I was like literally taking the memory card, throwing them into my laptop,
God, I love
and
these
editing.
specifics so much.
You know?
Yeah.
But then as soon as like, there's a lot more, like shout out to Tyler Babin and shout out to Caleb Ralston, Justin Doffres, and all the other video peeps that we've had along the years. Everyone brought their own like flavor, and I've loved it. Like some people are like, yo, I want to do more slow-mo stuff. I'm like, great, go ahead. Everyone was kind of allowed to do their own creative thing, and I'm really pumped at like where our team is currently right now.
No, I mean, that's
been really fun.
It's the reason I asked you that is because this one thing to make inspiring content, and people look at the content and be like, this is awesome. I want to get into production. I want to get into content creation. That's great. But like sometimes what doesn't get translated are the caveats of like how scrappy and how like rugged you had to be to get these things done.
I mean, let's talk about real talk though. Right now, everyone on TikTok is going viral and they're using their iPhone.
Phone, yeah. So it's
right.
like,
So like, the world
yeah.
knows it's production geeks like you and me,
Yeah.
and other people who like we actually do care about the craft of it and the look and the feel, and that's okay too. I think there's moments like Euphoria needs to be filmed, and that DP
that's A24.
That's different than what we're talking about here, which is you need to pump out a ton of content. You don't have a lot of time. I want you to film something in the back of your car, and I want you to post it, and that's all I care about.
That's great.
You know.
Again, shifting gears a little bit. So you guys were clearly getting traction and people were following all this content and subscribing and all that. So at this point, when
and I'm sorry to cut in.
Sure.
Gary had done 3 years of Wine Library TV episodes.
Yeah.
1,000 episodes. So an episode every day.
Yeah.
For 3 years before I started. So when we talked about that, and then I started, now we're 8 years after when I started, that's 12 years in the making of a following and a brand. So I always like to remind people that, like, you know, before I even hit up, Gary did 1,000 episodes. Like, imagine doing 1,000 of these podcast episodes. That's a lot. I don't know, what number are we on? 4. Right. So, wow, awesome. Let's go.
I know,
I love that.
Thank you.
I love being early. So yeah, now doing 1,000 more, you're gonna have a lot more experience, being more comfortable on camera, know exactly what you want out of your guests. You're gonna become a better interviewer. 1,000 episodes is a lot.
You have the reps in.
So I always tell people, like, yo, before we even think about you having a following, think about 1,000 episodes. And Gary only had 30,000 people on YouTube following him.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like millions, you know? So I always want to put time in perspective.
Of course. And how much did you think that affect his, because like he's a businessman and there are like a lot of business people and a lot of investors in the city all over the place, but like none of them are clearly as camera friendly and as good at storytelling as Gary is, right?
And
so,
as we're all not.
Yeah, correct.
Right, like meaning like everyone is so different, and that's how like life is.
Yeah,
you know?
And so like, do you clearly think that the wine library stuff actually helped him hone that talent?
Yeah, I mean, if you're at home right now, or you're sitting in your car, or hopefully at traffic, you're not like Googling shit, but go search Wine Library TV episode 1. If you watch the first episode, and even watch Ask Gary Vee episode 1. They're 2 very different energies than what you think of Gary is today. So of course, I think, you know, like anything, if I go to the gym and do 10 push-ups today, I'm sure if I did that every day for a year, I could do 100 pretty easily.
Yep.
You know?
It's about the reps.
It's about reps.
Yeah. Okay. You said Tyler Babin, and that's why this I'm asking this. So he's someone who used to work for Gary, went independent. Now he's with Hassan, I think. So when a creator goes independent like that, there is a shift which happens in which he has to actively think who my audience is. Because it's one thing to make content for your client and making them happy. And it's another thing to make content for a community.
Yeah. I mean, first off, Tyler Babin is a real creative.
Yeah,
meaning like
talented,
he's a storyteller, I would say a poet. He knows how to like write, he knows how to tell stories. And personally, right after he left Vayner, shout out to him again. He only came in, wanted to only do 2 years with us, a year with us, and Gary's like, please give me 2. I think he ended up working like 4 with us. So insane. He helped build the whole Empathy wine brand. But as soon as he left, I remember for a good year and a half, he went through this period where he was trying to build his YouTube.
His personal YouTube.
Yeah. And he did an insane job. It just takes a while to do it. And I think, you know, it's funny, me personally, when I need editing inspiration, I actually go to Tyler Babin's YouTube just to watch how he edits a certain thing to get inspiration.
Wow.
But yeah, it took him time. And then I think, he's still working on that content. He's still putting that out. But I think him, associating with Hassan Minaj and them working together just made a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Hassan's such a great dude.
Yeah.
And Tyler is such a creative mind. So I'm putting those two people together. They just came out with their Netflix special.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped for them about that. Yeah, I think every creative has to find their process. I don't want to speak too much for him.
For sure.
But I respect how he's gone about his journey, and I'm really proud of him. And I think, yes, when you leave a corporation or you leave a job or a role where you identify as that, and you go into a different role or a different company, or you're trying to build yourself up, you have to ask yourself the hard questions.
Yeah.
Who am I?
So
what do I care about? Who do I want to prioritize? Right?
Yeah. So before he went and joined Hassan, he was independent for a while. And a lot of people in this industry who work for a boss in a corporate environment, they romanticize the idea of going independent, right? And there are hard truths that people have to deal with, like how am I going to make money? Because there's no longer a steady paycheck, which I'm going to get every 2 weeks.
Yep.
So how important do you think that practical consideration is, instead of just romanticizing the idea of I'm going to be the next Casey Neistat?
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, I'm always practical, but practicality for me doesn't mean where my next paycheck is coming from.
Of course.
For me, practicality is, am I going to be happy and working? If Gary's like, hey, I got to wrap up shop and I got to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit there for a while and be like, yo, what do I really want to make? And also figure out how the fuck I got to make money, right?
Yeah.
But I also don't think that's important. I'm going to really more value, what am I going to go do? And how am I going to get there?
Correct.
I think money and, practicality comes back to how we opened this conversation. Live within your means. If I didn't have a job, I'm not going to stay in my $2,700 apartment.
Yep.
I'm going to go try to get a roommate. I'm going to pay $800 again for rent and grind and not go out to dinner as much and grind again. People think that now that D-Rock's here, or hey, Babin's here, they're not willing to go backwards. And I think for me, I personally am. I really believe in if I got to go figure it out by myself because I need to get more happy again and get more excited about the thing I'm going to work on, I then need to readjust my lifestyle to be able to do that.
Of course.
But too many people are like, oh, I want to quit, but I also still want to go out to the club at $300 a night.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
Yeah, it's just impractical.
It's just impractical. And I just think that I have a good concept of time.
Yep.
And I think a lot more people should try to think about that. 2 years not having your own place again and living with a roommate again isn't that much time. But 2 years of grind work on something that you really love is an enormous amount of time because you spend all of your time doing it.
People think about it in a stepping stone way, because now that I'm at stage C, there's no way I can go back to stage A and rebuild.
Yeah, and that's so funny. If something tragic happens, then you are forced to go there.
Correct.
So I feel listen, everyone is so different.
Correct. Yeah, it's all circumstantial.
When I was not really doing well in freelancing, I worked at Best Buy. Or when I was not doing well in freelancing, I took up a wedding video editing gig on the side, right? There's other ways to make money, and you got to be able to grind and work. At the age of 14, I was working with my dad in construction, and I give a lot of respect to my dad, but I hated it. I hated it so much, and I said, once I find out what I love, I'm going to work every day the hardest I possibly can on it.
I don't like telling my own story, but since you said construction, before I shifted to production, I was a civil engineer. I
never realized it rhymed, by the way, until you literally just said that.
Wait, where did I say?
Construction production.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So funny.
When you're producing, you're constructing, right? So, but the point being, I went to school for civil engineering before I shifted to production, but me doing what I hated the most forced me to figure out what I liked the most, right? Of course. So I think that's
and you were fortunate to have the perspective,
and the privilege to take that risk.
Yeah, but it's not even. It's more. Yeah, your privilege was your perspective.
Okay, yeah.
I think a lot of people confuse privilege privilege is, if your mindset's good,
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah. It's
That's some privilege all on its own, you know?
just you realizing, you thinking in third person. That's so important. I think the reason why people have hard time like thinking about themselves and like, hey, like let me grind it out and like go back to that point again. It's because like the whole system of production and social media is so gamified right now, right? So like your creativity is attached to a number, right? So like if you are getting X number of views, X number of subscribers, that somehow gives credential to how creative you are or not. How important do you think it is to like step out of that bubble and think about your creativity independently, or do you not agree with that at all?
It's actually funny. I mostly agree with that.
Okay.
I would say that I don't think about the number nearly as much as I think most creatives do.
Yeah.
And I think that's because Gary doesn't either. Gary and us have only thought about where do we get our message to everybody wherever they are. If you like to read, we're going to put out books and articles and long form content. If you want to hear a long podcast, we got you. If you want to watch 5-second TikToks, we got you. If you want to read quotes and like look at cool images, we got you. I think too many people romanticize the numbers and not about making it easier for the consumer on the other side.
I think that comes from a discipline of posting and realizing the value in like a variety of content.
I think it comes from the audacity of creatives thinking they know what to make.
Expand on that.
Everyone's trying to chase viral.
Okay.
Like, viral is just good content that does well, right?
For sure.
I think too many people are thinking about that and not just making good content, you know? And I think how do we get to 1 million followers? How do we get to 100,000? I don't think the views matter as much. Obviously, you need to make good content, and if good content is made, it will be seen. Or you just need to get better at marketing your content.
So you said good content. So like if there's like a kid today who wants to step in this world of content creation, he will look at YouTube and watch stuff, like, let's say Mr. Beast, for example.
Yeah.
Huge respect, love that guy. But at the same time, he makes content in a formula, obviously, because like he respects retention.
Yeah. I mean, he's the number one.
Up for a reason.
100%.
For a reason, like huge respect to their hats off. But when a kid looks at that content, and he approaches creativity that way, like, hey, I'm gonna like start snap, cold open, caption. That's the way to approach creativity.
Yeah.
And then there's another like
I think that's very smart, by the way.
Of course, because it clearly works. Obviously, like,
I think it's more smart because if he's a kid at home right now, I mean, he's so young, or he's like hungry to try stuff and go experiment. My first videos that I watched were this guy called the Final Cut King, aka Zach King.
Oh, he's a Vine guy, right?
Yeah, but before that, he did a bunch of YouTube tutorials called the Final Cut King.
Wow.
And I literally watched all of his videos. I wasn't a 14-year-old kid at home, and I would watch, and that's how I learned how to edit videos. And so I would say to him, this kid at home, yo, try that stuff, try 10,000 other styles. Or you decide what yours is.
Yeah.
Too many kids will, hey, I'll make that style, it does well, and then stick to it because it's doing well. What we're pretty good at, and like what Gary and our team is like, we don't care if it doesn't, we're just going to keep testing and testing. We go from everything from like copy to title to end cards to intro, all of it. We're constantly evolving. And I think that's the way of a creative. Too many people pick their lane and stay in it. Now, I'll say, Mr. Beast, Casey Neistat, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they have the things that work for them. And they do stick in it, and they're known for that, and that's insane.
Yep.
But I feel like too many kids limit their vision by trying to compare themselves to those creators and not just step back and just try to make 10,000 different things.
I think like the only way to figure out your lane is just like the permutation of you making a lot of different content.
Yeah, and it's if I was to start a school today, or teach in a class, my education would be, hey, here's your assignment, go do it, and then let's talk about how you're gonna do it together. Meaning, like, too many people were brought up in the system where here's the assignment, here's exactly what you need to write about, go. And so you're brought up this way. you're brought up in system and like not out thinking outside the box and only doing things that you were taught or learned. So when you come out of that system and you're a freelancer or an independent creative or just someone, it's hard to break yourself from that mold.
From that pattern, yeah.
Because I even remember starting with Gary, I was like, oh, I'm a filmer though. I want to make it look nice. Like I cared about the cinematography over the
storytelling.
Yeah. Which then quickly broke because Gary, hey, we got to do it this way. And then I learned, oh wait, you're actually more creative when you don't try to stick within your box.
Limit yourself to that box.
Yeah, and limit yourself to your vision, right? Yeah, I just feel like too many creatives, again, are just so limited because they are seeing what works. And they're like, hey, I want that. And they're only thinking about the next year, next 6 months.
Correct.
They're not thinking about, hey, if I do this for another 10 years, I could truly be known for experimenting or trying different things or my own style, you know?
You said schooling somewhere in that train of thought. That's why I'm asking this. The creator economy right now is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and a lot of people are finding their careers here, and people are clearly realizing that this is here to stay. Even the VC world is also stepping into it. The question is, why don't you think that the schooling system, the high school system, the college system is yet to actually inform people and guide people to how to actually step into this world? Or do you think that if someone actually wants to make it, they have to do it on their own?
I think it's a matter of time.
Okay.
I think, we're a few generations away from like it being an option to go to school, and you need to there's other different education paths coming. Mm-hmm. I think that's just a matter of time with the internet, you see a lot more vocational schools, homeschools, online schools. You see all these alternative education programs. That stuff is coming. I think there's just so much money in education right now that the government finds it hard to let it go. You got to remember, it's my generation, it's your generation, it's my nephews and nieces' generation. Those are the kids that are now going to have to come up with knowing everything at their fingertips, right? Yep. My mom and dad had encyclopedias. We, right now, can Google 1 million billion things off of our phone, and that's insane. And it's just taking the whole world a lot longer to catch up.
You said phones. That's why I'm asking, how important do you think for someone who's starting to actually understand different platforms? And if they actually want to create original content, should they actually focus on one single platform or should they start by diversifying themselves?
That's a great question. I actually don't know.
Okay.
I would say my recommendation is try every platform and see which one you know how to speak the best on.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Instagram is very different than Snapchat or TikTok. LinkedIn or Twitter or TikTok or YouTube. So these are all different communication platforms.
Yeah.
Learn how you best communicate. Try it in every platform. And whatever one you feel the most comfortable with, go with that. Currently, TikTok is in the heat of what it is. But if you were a great Vine star editor, this is why Logan Paul, Jake Paul have it blown up. Is because they knew and understood Vine, the platform, how to tell a story in 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Then when they go to YouTube, if you watch their edits, that's why they know how to tell great stories. They knew how to tell a short story in 15.
Quickly.
They just do that a bunch of different times in a vlog, and you have a wildly entertaining
10-minute
story.
video.
If the kids who learned how to create great video content or when IGTV first came out, and they then went to go to TikTok when TikTok came out, they would be much better creators for TikTok. Now, creatives who don't know how to make on TikTok are not going to know when SchmickTok comes out in 10 years, Which, again, I've been through a bunch of these different platforms now. Facebook video, YouTube, Instagram, IG, LinkedIn, these are all different platforms. And so, but they all take different skills, and you need to learn each one. We don't make a post and share it across all platforms. We make it per platform, contextual to the platform.
Yeah, you can't put a square in a circle.
We put quotes for Gary said a curse word on LinkedIn. It does not do well.
Yep.
The business and executive world doesn't like that.
Yep.
So now we keep that away.
PG.
We realize when writing copy on LinkedIn, instead of like just copying, pasting, and putting in our paragraph copy, it works better if you space out the copy. It looks better. The users love it and engage it with it more. These are all things you know within the platform nuances.
Of course.
Just by doing it within platform.
You said you're 31, right?
31, yeah.
So you clearly have been in this industry for a while. How important do you think is to be cognizant of burnouts? And if and when they get people get it, how should they deal with it or prevent it in general?
Yeah, I mean, burnout is such a big word. I would say like, hey, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I think then go sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I do think that like sleep is very important.
Yeah.
I think in the early days, I definitely did not sleep enough.
Yeah.
Now, as I am 31, thank you for reminding me, I am sleeping a lot. No, I'm kidding. I am sleeping a lot more, but because I'm feeling that it's more beneficial to my health.
Long term.
I want to live to be 120.
Yeah.
And so I want maximum health. But I will say that a lot of burnout is extreme. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Get some sleep, hydrate, go for a walk. But creative burnout, I feel like is a little bit different.
Correct.
I feel like creative burnout is sometimes when you're frustrated with what you're working on.
Yeah.
When you're working with other colleagues that don't understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
When you're working with client and client feedback, we've all been there. These are all different types of where creative burnout can come from. So what I'll say in a practical way is consistently reprioritize what's important to you. On an everyday basis or an every week basis or an every month, you know, every like 3 months, if I'm on a plane or I'm like somewhere where I have like 2 hours to myself and no one can distract me, I'll often go into my notes on my phone and write out what I want my priorities to be for the next 3 months. And then 3 months later, I'll look at it and reprioritize and keep doing that. But then also daily goals. And if you're unhappy, you need to reprioritize putting happiness back in your life. So maybe if you're working at a job that you don't like and you're working in production, something that you love, but you don't quite love the work that you're working on, start a podcast on the side, start a vlog on the side, start the creative project that will excite you. So that way when you get home, you can work on something that's exciting to you. And then usually when that happens, you're happier the next day. You'll do more for the job anyways. You'll be happier. And then you can either find that or go the complete opposite way. Take a break from creating outside of your work. Go for long walks. Maybe try to be a chef. Try to be something else. And then maybe you might re-fall in love with your passion again. And then you might want to go back to it. You know? These things are ebb and flows in life. And I've experimented with all those things. And I'm consistently evolving, you know?
You said to prioritize. Gary, when he was coming, he came up for a while ago, but like when you guys,
come up.
I know there's a come up. He has came up, but like when you guys started putting content out, a huge pattern there was the hustle aspect of it. And right now, today, a couple of months ago, there was this huge Gen Z trend of like quiet quitting and like the whole anti-hustle culture.
Yeah, hustle porn or all that.
Yeah, and what's your take on the whole quiet quitting and like actually like prioritizing your work-life stuff?
Yeah, listen, I think everyone should work how they want to work.
Yeah.
I love working hard.
Yep.
Especially, I said, when I was 14 years old, I was working hard in construction. I hated it.
Yeah.
But when I found something I loved, I would work hard and I love it.
Yeah.
I think that too many people have made success early and have talked about how now they're not working as hard and they're enjoying their life and balance is important. And I think, listen, when you've accomplished stuff, it's easier to talk about. It gives you a different perspective. When you're in the trenches,
you don't have the privilege
you
to
need
think
to
about
work.
It. Yeah.
And so I don't care if you want to use hustle or you want to use hard work or if you want to use like, I don't know, put more energy into it. But like for me, the only way to get something done is by working hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or smart, or both. Like, it really, to me, these are all like...
different lingo.
Yeah. And to it just like... The ultimate thing is, hey, I need to get more stuff done so I can get it in front of the right people. Because I want my career to grow.
Love that.
Right? And so, if you can do that with doing it 4 hours a week, kudos to you. If you need to spend 75 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because that's your method and your process. You do that. I know, who was it? Was it Leonardo da Vinci? I forgot who took naps every 4 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this like famous.
Definitely not Gary. So.
No, but there's definitely like this famous artist who like literally would sleep every 4 hours.
Yeah.
He would take an hour nap. He would never take a full night of sleep.
Wow.
But he would do like every 4 hours he would take a nap, and like that was his process.
Yeah.
I think every single one of us works completely different. And so we have to take that with a grain of salt.
I think like what's important, like you said, is like to just hit pause and reprioritize and like rethink what your goals are and what your priorities are, and accordingly approach it.
I know that I would not be picking up Gary right now at 7:30 and drop me off at 11:30 anymore.
Yeah.
His life's in a different place. My life's in a different place.
Yeah.
We want different things at this time. But if I needed to,
You will.
I would.
Of course.
You know?
So you have a book coming out, or you're working on a book. Just talk to me about it.
Yeah, a little passion project. I think I've always written a lot of fantasy novel stuff when I was a kid that I plan on writing later down the road. But as I've read books and heard a lot of cool podcasts and watched a lot of great content, I still believe the energy behind working for free is not out there.
Yeah.
And I want it to be out there. Only because I just want more kids to take the opportunity that they have, which is literally, if Instagram and TikTok were around, I would be DMing 100 people a day and being like, can I make video content for you? Here's my reel. Can I make video content for you? Here's my reel. And eventually someone would say yes, and then I'll just get more experience, right? And then add another notch to the belt and keep moving.
How are you adjusting to the different form of storytelling? Because like video is a different form and the written word is a different form.
Writing is a completely different art form. I like to dabble in all different types of creative forms, so I love it. You know, I think it's another way to communicate, and as long as we can communicate to each other, I'm happy.
Hey, love that. Hey, thank you for your time. And just to be honest, like I have admired your work for a long time, and clearly,
thank you.
I watched Gary's stuff, the OG days of him vlogging, when I started watching Casey, like his 300 day. By the way, when like he's back to New York, so that's awesome for him.
I know he just came back.
Wow,
welcome back, Casey.
What do you think about that?
I'm excited. I think you know, Casey for me was always New York energy. And, I'm pumped for him as long as he's happy.
It's crazy how like one or two people can inspire like generations of creators.
Well, here's the thing. I'll leave you with this note. Back to the kid who was editing at 14 in my mom's house. I watched one Will Smith video that some fan edited together, like the 9 Secrets of Success. I watched that video every single day until I got to like New York, and it really motivated me. It changed my life. And I always said, hey, if I can make one video like that, I could die a happy man. And I think I've done that. I think I've done that now. But I think the impact that you have, right? We are the patriarchs and the matriarchs of our family. If you look back at your mom and dad right now, their entire lives are not documented like ours. Yeah. You are going to...
That's crazy. I haven't thought about
Drock is going to be the beginning of the Rock family from now until the end of time. Because I've documented and put out so much content. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we have all this stuff. All the documentaries in the future are going to be crazy because there's just so much more media. And I think that you could put out 3 words right now, like just do it, and you can change the world. You can also you can write an essay, you can post one Instagram video, you can post one TikTok video, and your entire life changes. The amount of opportunity that we have right now is astounding. And I hope that you all take that, energy.
Perfect.
And
you are the chapter 1. Yeah.
And it's a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
I want to be known as a good guy. I want to be known as a guy that lived within my morals. I want to be known as a hard worker. I want to put my family's name on the map. I want to be known as helping others. It's a big responsibility. And I think that a lot more kids should look at it that way.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. All right, I want to get a video of you real quick.
Dude, hey, perfect.